off-roading arcade action on your home micro with Jackal. Jackal is a 1986 arcade game from Konami. Looks familiar because it's very similar to games like Commando and Ikari Warriors, except this time you're in a jeep and you have to rescue prisoners of war, deliver them to the helicopters, and then just drive your way through to the end of the... Well, it's all on one stage, basically. Just get your way through to the end. You are a team of 4 people, either Colonel Decker, Lieutenant Bob, Sergeant Quint, or Corporal Grey, although this is actually irrelevant. It's one of those games that was ported by Konami themselves to the UK home systems. Going to start off on the CPC because I had this version on one of the Konami arcade compilations. So you can see your 4 characters there, either side of the screen. Thing is, it makes no odds. You can't select any of them. There's no special abilities. It's either a 1 or 2 player game in 2-player co-op, but none of these characters make any difference at all. So the game came out at the end of 1987, and if you're looking for reviews, it was reviewed in, generally speaking, the December 87 and January 88 editions of magazines. So here we are, and it's looking very like, well, as I mentioned, Commando, Ikari Warriors, what you will. And there's your Jeep in camouflage blue, and I'm already dead. It's quite a small play area, and a lot of things are going to shoot at you, but you immediately recognise this scenario. Very, very familiar from computer games. It's, as I say, Ikari Warriors, Commando, Who Dares Wins, everything, really. It's pretty jerky. I mean, you remember how good Ikari Warriors is on the CPC? This isn't it. Reminds me more of Super Stuntman by Codemasters, the way your Jeep handles. You've got bombs and bullets you can fire, and annoyingly, you will be shot by everything in sight. There are huts hidden around that have POWs in. You shoot the huts and get the POWs out. Although, frankly, it makes no difference to the gameplay at all. Onto the Spectrum. And off we go. And yeah, this isn't very good for a 1987 game, is it? You think how much older Commando and Ikari Warriors are. And this is looking very basic with little black stick men walking towards you. Okay, it's the Spectrum. There's not going to be a huge amount of colour, but it's not good. Crash gave this 47%, although your Sinclair and Sinclair user gave it 7 out of 10. I mean, look at them just kind of walking together in tandem towards you. It looks so dreadful. Over to the 64, which by rights would have been the first version I looked at, but as I say, I like a link into these things, hence why I quite often leave with the CPC. So it's still looking very basic, and there are 2 C64 versions, a UK version and a US version, but we will come to that. But it's already got a much larger play area. Well, I need to pick him up, he's a POW. It says POW up, which also means you've got to power up. So now I've got rockets. Everything is still firing at me. Go around there. To get the screen to scroll, you need to be quite far forward, which means you can't see ahead very well, which tends to be quite annoying. No reviews that I could see of the C64 version. When Ace reviewed the Spectrum and Amstrad versions, they said the C64 release was imminent. And it's advertised, but I don't think it came out on its own potentially. I think, well, I wonder if it only came out on compilations. Right, there's some, here we go, here's the POWs need to rescue, lots of them. I wonder if it didn't come out at full price, but came out on the Konami compilations. I could be wrong there. And on budget as well. It was extensively advertised as well, but as we know about these Konami releases, Konami took their games in-house and it was all a bit of a mess. Games like Jailbreak put out, which were terrible, and the home ports of Nemesis, which again were awful. I'm full up of... Oh, that's the thing. If you get shot with all your POWs on the Jeep, they all die. On the arcade, they just start running around. You have to pick them up again. But no, on the Spectrum, Amstrad and Commodore versions, they just all die. Which means your chances of delivering any to a helicopter pad are slim to non-existent because the game's very hard. PC version running on my Dell 486. And, yes. Yes, this is the kind of pinnacle of 16-bit gaming we were all expecting. EGA is the top version available. And I think this is running, well, it seems to be running in the EGA. The controls aren't responding properly, annoyingly. I have to keep on tapping the keys to make the Jeep move. It's something. It's something. This isn't a UK game. This is a US release. It's ugly. It's quite poor. The gameplay does resemble the arcade more closely. But, yeah, I mean, look at it. I've got all these bullets flying in now. You can't see where they're coming from. And if I get any closer, I'm going to be shot. Oh. The thing is about this conversion of Jackal is, like any conversion, it's limited by the source material. And the thing is, Jackal isn't an arcade game I particularly rate. I'd rather be playing Atari Warriors, and it never looked particularly special and never grabbed me in the way some of those other games did. Back on the Amstrad version. I mean, again, the characters are on the left and right hand side of the screen. These people make no difference to you at all. They don't have different abilities. There's nothing. There's nothing. It is completely and utterly pointless. It's just space filling. Look, there's another Jeep. Same as my sprite. And this on the CPC really feels like a budget game from Codemasters. The kind of thing they'd knock out and go, yeah, this is £3. We'll call it, I don't know, search and rescue simulator or something. Be very careful because your Jeep has no armour at all. So one bullet from one of those little guys shooting at you and you're dead. Surely this is going to be some kind of armoured car that can withstand just a little bit of incoming fire. Back on the Specky. I'm dead. It's incredibly hard. And all the time you're playing this, you're reminded of better games. There's a tank. You could be playing Atari Warriors. Okay, you're on foot, but when you get the vehicles in that, it's really fun. You'd think this should be really fun because in those games, when you get the vehicles, and we're on the 64, that's the best part of the game. Can I get them? How do I get them? And because it's only a Jeep, you can't just roll over. If it was a tank, you're just going to be, great, let's roll over the river, let's roll over buildings because it's a tank. No, we've got a really rubbish Jeep. POW's in there, there's a POW. They don't tend to run towards you, they just run around aimlessly. Oh no, you see, look, there's a gun turret and then they've got... See, I'm fine. How am I not destroying him? They've got these sandbags in front of the... Oh, just... It's horrible. It's... Ace said the Spectrum and Amstrad versions had unsatisfactory gameplay. And I expected, when they gave it 487 for the Spectrum and 450 for the CPC, I expect they'd say the same thing about the C64 version. Now I'm stuck on the roof of a building. And I can't get off. Great. Good work, Konami, there. Playtested this. No, I'm stuck. There is, however, an improved C64 version. It's the same game by the same coders, released a little bit later in the USA, and here it is. And essentially, it's still rubbish. I don't know if there's music going on really quietly or just really terrible sound effects. The enemy bullets just flicker towards you like some horrible flickery thing. It's suddenly really slow, and it's got these updated graphics, but they're still rubbish. This USA version proves that you cannot polish a turd. That's it, isn't it? You can't polish a turd. You can't take that rubbish UK version and turn it into something better. You know, like the USA version of Space Harrier on the C64. It's still rubbish. Back on the Amstrad, where we're jerking along in goodness knows how many pixel jumps every time we move. As part of a compilation, can't I get through there? Can I get through there? Why can't I get through there? As part of a compilation, I wasn't too bothered by this game because there were other games on there like Ya Kung Fu and Green Beret and so on. Well, if I had any POWs, I'd be dropping them off there, but obviously I've died so many times that I don't have any. As I mentioned before, the game is one massive level, so in terms of variety, this is it. Really, it's a big desert with a base at the end of it. You know, like in Ikari Warriors, Commando, except those games do it much better. Well, Commando's level-based, but Ikari Warriors is one large level, isn't it? But it does it so much better. It's hard to imagine how Konami were looking at bringing this out on the home systems and they're not looking at Ikari Warriors and going, right, that's where we need to be. That's a 2-year-old game, and that's where we need to be. PC version, where I'm frantically mashing the keys. It's high res, I will give it that. It's also incredibly ugly, and look, I've blown up and all my POWs have jumped out of the Jeep and are just flickering around. Right, I'll press on, I'll leave that guy down the bottom left wandering around since he's too stupid to find my Jeep. And I'm going to die in a second anyway, because look at this. It's nuts. By the way, if you want to play Jackal, the version to play apparently is the Nintendo Entertainment System version, but I know nothing of that. Oh, there's going to be people in the comments, isn't there? And we're on the specky going, why didn't you include the Nintendo version? It's really good. I don't know why you don't do that on your emulator. In that exact voice. So this is the end of the game. On the specky, there's a big thing at the end you just need to shoot. So we're going to go through here. I'm dying a lot. But thanks to the kindly people at the RZX Archive, I didn't have to play this rubbish all the way through. I've just created a snapshot and jumped in at the end. Congratulations, mission accomplished. Is it the end of level 1? No, the game just loops round forever. Amstrad version, where we're appear to be shooting a door with the old BBC News at 1 logo from the 80s on it. C64 looking a bit busier at the end of the game. On infinite lives. By the way, the game is incredibly short. So if you've got infinite lives, you can whiz through this game in about 7 minutes on the CPC and C64. Not that you'll ever get that far because it is so incredibly hard. And while I'm trying to destroy the end level baddie here, or the end of game baddie, the Spectrum version, if you're wondering who the coders were, well, one of them was responsible for Kokotoni Wilf, a game that never came out, well, only on budget. Outpost destroyed, mission complete, press fire to continue, and it loops round over again. Joy, you can do it all over again and enjoy yourself just as much as you did the first time. Jackal, oh dearie me, oh dearie me. With other games around that are better than this, like Ikari Warriors, like Commando, you'd have thought that Konami would have looked at that and gone, right, that's where we need to look at for this conversion of our arcade game. But they didn't. They just seem to have put together 3 very lazy and awful ports of the game, just like they did with Jailbreak, which was equally incompetently done. Mind you, I don't know how much Konami as a company back in Japan thought about Jackal, because you'll have been thinking, where's the MSX version? Because it's a Konami game. No, like Jailbreak, Konami didn't like the game enough to actually port it to the MSX, which is astonishing. Perhaps Konami knew both of these games weren't that good in the arcade to begin with and weren't prepared to invest the money in home conversions. The Spectrum version is ugly and dated and just why. The Amstrad version, just horrible scrolling and all that wasted space down the left and right hand side of these characters that you cannot play. C64 version plays better because of the larger screen. It's still demonstrably rubbish, only slightly above that of a shoot-'em-up construction kit game. All of these conversions are held back by the source material. As I mentioned earlier, when the game isn't particularly good to begin with, you're not going to get good conversion. But actually, none of these are coded well either. They don't jump off the screen. You can have an average arcade game and then do a fantastic job at converting it. But these are the usual Konami low-effort fare. And as for that USA version on the C64, sorry, as I said, you can take a turd and polish it, but all you end up with is a shiny turd.